So Monday, this is kind of an interesting thing because we talked about Brock Bowers a lot. All right, and he's just such a very good player. Um, and one thing we talked about with Brock Bowers is that the guy is just a straight up freak, troublemaker, whatever you want to call it. And on Monday, you know, Kirby was asked about Brock Bowers, and this is what he said. He said, talking about Brock, he says he's unique, but I think the position has evolved. So he's evolved with the position. As he was growing up and younger, he saw tight ends doing things in the NFL that traditional tight ends of the Giants, lining up at 13 personnel with three offensive linemen. Three offensive linemen as tight ends is no longer the tight end. It's not what it does. It's not what it was. And he didn't necessarily play tight end in high school. If you watch his high school tape, he was not really just a tight end. So I think part of the sell in recruiting was you just won't be used as a tight end. And let me tell you, they don't use him just as a tight end. He said, now tight ends are different within tight ends, just like receivers are different within receivers, and running backs are different within running backs. James Cook was not Zamir White. They were different people. Defensive backs, there's a star, there's a safety, there's a corner. So there's a variety that never really existed. But now at tight end, there's a variety within the tight end room that I think exists, which makes him different. And it's okay to be different at a position because offenses have modernized, and he's a part of that evolution. Yeah, he is. I mean, the guy is. Well, the thing to me is that he's so fast. I mean, here's Darnell Washington right here. Darnell Washington is not a normal tight end. Just like the quarterback at Arkansas is not a normal quarterback. Darnell is not a normal tight end. But when you see Brock Bowers blistering past everybody, basically, I, I just don't. I did not use a picture of Brock in DAWGSTRUCTION during the Michigan game. I don't know why I didn't. You can pick up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. 80 pages, hardcover. It's an awesome gift for Christmas and the holidays that we're coming up to. But on the first drive of the Michigan game, Georgia comes flying down the field. I think Michigan kind of started. They started with the ball, Michigan, and then they didn't. They had to punt. I think, or they fourth down got stopped. Something. Georgia got the ball, and Georgia did not get the ball in an ideal situation necessarily. It was fine. It was fine. But that touchdown from Brock Bowers, first of all, schematically, he was wide open. If it's from what I remember. Secondly, the yell that he let out, and it was going right into the Michigan section, um, was very noticeable. If you were right there, it was very noticeable. But he he is as gifted a tight end as I've ever seen at Georgia. Um, and that includes Randy McMichael. Larry Brown was a 4-year starter. He played basketball. He's the last two-sport player at Georgia who played basketball and football for 4 years each. Um, Fred Gibson played a little bit, but um, Brock Bowers, in terms of athleticism, I get the feeling would would put uh, would put Larry to shame. I was wrong about. I mean, Georgia got the ball and went right down the field and scored. They got the ball at the 20, um, and Zamir for 9, Stetson to AD for 16, Stetson to Brock Bowers for 35, Stetson to Brock Bowers for 7, first and 10. I'm sorry, second and 3 at the Michigan 13. They call a timeout after Zamir goes for 2, and then it was another 2 for Zamir. Next play is a 9-yard touchdown for Brock Bowers. So right off the bat, Brock Bowers all in your face for the Michigan Wolverines. They could not deal with the guy, and that wasn't all he did, but he had his 3 catches on that. I had someone inside the program tell me that if they wanted to throw to Brock Bowers the whole night, Michigan could not. There was nothing Michigan could do to stop Brock Bowers. Nothing. And this was a Michigan team that was pretty good on defense. If you'll recall, they had a few guys drafted pretty high, just like the Dogs did. Aiden Hutchinson, who would not cover, Brock Bowers, but would have to deal with Brock Bowers. I mean, the guy is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. He can run for touchdowns. He can obviously get receptions, but as good as Brock Bowers is, the addition of Darnell Washington out there mauling people cannot be underestimated or shouldn't be left out of focus because the other day when they were playing Kent State, Brock came flying around the right hand side right towards us. And when you watch the replay on the big screen, here's Darnell partying uh, 50 yards away, but was so happy that Brock got that sort of celebration in the end zone. He was just 50 yards away from it, so he couldn't pull it off. Speaking of celebrations, we are going to be at Paloma Park Friday before the Auburn game at 4 o'clock, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, Paloma Park in Athens, downtown, Paloma Park. Join us for happy hour. You and hundreds of your Georgia friends come and play. We will be there. Now, you're going to have to behave. This is a classy place, okay? It's not like those of us who grew up in DeKalb County and don't really know how to act. You have to act right. But we will be there and we will have fun. The food is quite good, and they have a slew of drinks. Y'all be fine on that front. We're going to talk about the Dogs. We'll talk about Georgia Auburn. Georgia, I would imagine, will still be the number one team in the country. We'll see. They got to do their part against the Missouri Tigers. And trips to Middle Earth are not always the easiest thing on earth. But when you've got these tight ends, it's, it's tough to deal with what Georgia's got. Just with Bowers. But Washington, that catch against, I mean, I don't know how many offensive plays Georgia had on Saturday, but two of the remarkable offensive plays were made by tight ends. One was the Brock Bowers touchdown around the corner, and the other one was that reception from Darnell going into the bridge end zone. I don't know if Georgia scored there. I think they kicked a field goal, but these guys are hard to deal with. Brock is not tall. I think he's shorter than I am actually, but Darnell is, and he is nothing but trouble. And I mean, it looks like Darnell Washington should be in the NBA. Just saying straight up, he looks like those guys in terms of length, in terms of size, but he's probably got 30 pounds or 40 pounds on all of them. And he looks like one of the guys that we would play in AAU and when I was growing up, just like monsters. Except he plays tight end, and it's going to be really hard for some linebacker who is smaller than he is and probably not as fast to deal with that guy. It sounds so simple, and I hate when like people overdo this, but like just throw it up to him. Well, yeah, just throw it up to him because that guy can do almost, there's almost anything he can do. He's out here leaping over people in the Kentucky game a season ago, and that's not the last time he did it. Right there, there he is, like a weatherman with this thing over here. But they're just are they're hard to deal with, y'all. They're really challenging as a duo to deal with, and that's just those two. The other tight ends, they're not nothing either. But consider that you can bring, okay, both the tight ends as well as Jalen Carter um, in on short yardage packages, and you just take your hammer out and hit the nail a couple of times. That's it. Like you're probably gonna score because just the straight up momentum. People, the people are watching football And oh, it's football. Football's on. You forget that when you are a defensive player, you are trying to, I don't know the best way to describe it. You're trying to absorb the body blow of the person in front of you, get rid of them or whatever, and make a tackle. And when you've got 300 plus pounds of Jalen coming at you, or the momentum of Darnell's 270-ish pounds plus length coming at you, that's just hard to stop from a yard away. It's just hard to stop. That that Jalen can block and get rid of you and just go into the flats as an eligible receiver, like they did against Tennessee in 2000. There's that problem too. So if you're a defender, do you really want to strike him and so that he can? I mean, you just kind of can't win in those situations. And for Georgia, the tight ends, everyone talks about Darnell blocking, and it's something to watch. But they lined him up with Warren McClendon the other day, and I don't feel bad for the Kent State guy, but it's hard to win like that. I mean, it's hard to win. And then you got some guy flying around the corner. Sometimes when I watch football, I find it hard to believe that the offense scores. Just there's so much that's got to go right. But damn, when you watch Georgia and you have these tight ends, it's not hard to understand why they score because they are so much better than what's out there and what they're dealing with. Hey, make sure you're going to Red Zone to visit my friends. Scott and Mindy are there. These are local business owners. I don't know if they've got any Darnell Washington jerseys or Brock Bauer jerseys, but they do have jerseys and they do have lots of stuff for you to check out. We'll see you over on the website or we'll see you at Red Zone all the time. We'll see you at Paloma Park, 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Auburn weekend, Friday, be there.